all of the elements that went into the making of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam came out of Africa. And you have to distinguish between the elements and the formal organization of the religions themselves. The religions began to decline when outsiders, foreigners, took over those elements, organized them for their own political purpose, gave them a name, and began to project them to the world for their political purpose. Then the outsider created a religion, but he forgot the African substance, and the African substance was spirituality. Because if you have spirituality, you can use any one of them or none of them. Because the African spirituality encompassed the essence of all of them. The white man has religion, but he has no spirituality. Then you must study and understand the difference between Islam and Arabism, something which is difficult for black people to understand. The Arab did to Islam what the white man did to Christianity. He subtracted the spirituality and made it a political instrument for his opportunism. But when it came over to the African accepted the spiritual aspect of it and forgot that to the Arab it was then and still is a political game, and that the spiritual aspect left him very early, and that he was then and is now playing a game, and that the spiritual aspect never touched him. And if you listen with me with some kind of patience, I will show you exactly what I mean, because if you see that it was the African who used this religion spiritually, and it was the Arab who used it politically. It is the African who still uses it spiritually, and it is the Arab who still uses it politically. If you look at the present-day Sudan, where the Arab have declared war on African cultures, and he not only while he has declared war on African cultures, he's eating bacon, drinking scotch, and patronizing European whores. He is as holy as a dog. And yet, you can go to Egypt and order scotch, bacon, or anything you want from the West, including a Western woman, and you can go to an African country that is Muslim, and if you order scotch, you might be put in jail. I am saying that Senegal, a Muslim African country, is more Muslim in its practice of the faith than Saudi Arabia. And you have African countries, because Africans in general believe in the spirituality of the religion, and while the Arabs practice the political aspect of the religion, devoid of spirituality. And it is the African side of Islam that has used it for spirituality. It was the African side of Islam and the African side of Islam alone that has used it as a rallying cry for social reform and revolutionary change. Now, in a speech at the African Poetry Theater a few weeks ago, I asked the audience, could anybody name one Arab who used Islam as a rallying cry for revolutionary change? A Senegalese student rose up and said, Gaddafi, which proved he don't know what Gaddafi is doing. Gaddafi is an Islamic zealot who is trying to use Islam to start a new form of Islamic and Arab imperialism. He's doing a few good things to disguise his con game. Otherwise, why would he be in Chad and Niger? He's looking for minerals, he's looking for resources, and he's backing those African countries that he can Islamize. Then why would he build a mosque in Ghana? And when Ghana wanted some money for a sewage system, he would refuse. You see the politics, but you don't see the spirit.
While teaching and representing a religion called Islam to you, the first important thing to do is to answer the question, what is Islam? Who is the author? Who are the prophets and people? Such questions could be answered in a few words, or one could make books out of the answers. Briefly, Islam means entire submission to the will of Allah. It is, moreover, a significant name. Its primary significance is the making of peace, and the idea of peace is the dominant idea in Islam. The author of Islam is Allah. We just cannot imagine God being the author of any other religion but one of peace. Since peace is the very nature of Allah, and peace he seeks for his people, and peace is the nature of the righteous. Most surely Islam is the religion of peace. It is the religion offered to the people to bring about peace of mind and contentment after the destroyers of peace with falsehoods have been destroyed. The entire creation of Allah is of peace, not including the devils who are not the creation of Allah, but a race created by an enemy, Yaqub of Allah. Yaqub rebelled against Allah and the righteous people and was cast out of the homes of the righteous into the worst part of the planet to live their way of life until they fixed day of their doom. These enemies of Allah are known at the present as the white race or European race, who are the sole people responsible for misleading 9/10 of the total population of the black nations. What is Islam? It can be answered in one word: righteousness. Briefly, it is the religion of Allah and his prophets. Islam is as old as Allah himself and is the religion of which Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, is the religion of which Allah is the author. Islam is the religion of Adam, Noah, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. Islam is the religion of entire submission to the will of Allah. Islam is the religion which the Holy Quran teaches. Allah says, "This day I have perfected for you your religion, completed my favor on you, and chosen you for Islam as a religion." And that's chapter 5:3 in the Quran. Allah also says in another chapter of the Holy Quran, "Surely the true religion with Allah is Islam." And that's chapter 3:18. The significance of the name Islam is peace, the true religion. It is a religion of eternal peace. We cannot imagine Allah offering to us a religion other than one of peace. A religion of peace coming to the righteous after the destruction of the wicked is also mentioned in several places in the Bible. The Lord will bless his people with peace. And that's Psalms 29:11. Also, he will speak peace unto his people, and to his saints. And that's Psalms 35:8. And the Lord of peace gives you peace always. And that's Thessalonians 3:16. Islam is the religion referred to in the above mentioned biblical verses. It is the only religion that gives the believer a peace of mind and contentment. It removes grief and fear at once on believing. Yea, whoever submits himself entirely to Allah, and he is the doer of good to others, he has the reward from his Lord, and there is no fear for him, nor shall he grieve. Our people, the so-called American Negroes, will love Islam when they learn more of it, for it is the religion of their fathers, and it is the last of the three great religions on earth. The other two, Buddhism and Christianity, cannot give us a lasting peace. We have tried them to our disappointment. Christianity is one of the most perfect black slave-making religions on our planet. It has completely killed the so-called Negroes mentality. Now, it takes Allah himself to revive and restore our people back into their own. Though I am his messenger and Allah can use my life as he pleases for him, they are my people and many while I am only one. Islam will give them the heaven while they live. Islam has more to offer than the white-controlled Christianity. Islam is universal. The true believers of Islam are equal in number to the total population of whites on our planet, and he states that's 400 million. By nature, all members of the black nation are Muslims, whose numbers is over the 1 billion mark. We must have Islam as our religion to restore our peace after suffering under the slavery, the persecutors, and the grief of wars for 6,000 years. The so-called Negroes of America, who have never known the way of peace, who have never had love or mercy shown to them, today have Allah. So I started this off with a clip from Dr. John Henry Clarke because I wanted history, context, and balance within this video. Yes, I am reviewing the book, and I want us to get all the meat off the bones from this book, but I also want to make sure that we have balance and context and real historical context as well. And so having the balance of Dr. John Henry Clarke and Elijah Muhammad, I believe the message can get across. So the overall message from this video is Islam is a religion that black people can choose. Now, the message that Elijah Muhammad is giving is Islam is the religion that black people should choose. Now, I coupled it with Dr. John Henry Clarke also because I remember watching the video in the past, and it could be in that exact video. That whole video is like an hour long, so I don't remember if it's exactly in this specific video, but I remember him talking about Islam being a better choice of religion for black people than Christianity. And so that's why I wanted to have some Dr. John Henry Clarke context on that. And so I thought about that for a while, for years, because I remember watching that video maybe over 10 years ago. And I never forgot that. I always thought about that. Even though it never necessarily spurred me to pick a specific religion, I never forgot what he said. I thought about it often. I never forgot what Dr. John Henry Clarke said. And I always wondered why he believed that Islam would be a better religion for black people in America than Christianity. And so I started looking further into Islam and seeing how true Islam is practiced. And once I learned how true Islam is practiced, I understood what Dr. Clarke was saying. Now, context, Orthodox Islam or true Islam, or it's different from what the Nation of Islam is teaching. It's not the exact same. It's a different type of ideologies that come with it, and then we can see what we can tell from what we're reading in this book. But what I do agree with Elijah Muhammad is I can understand why Islam would serve black people better. And I can understand why it would be a valiant push to get black people to get rid of Christianity, to get rid of what your white slave masters have given you. Now, True Islam, not Arabists, not the Islam that's influenced by the Arab slave masters, or even Christianity that's not influenced by the white slave masters. And we got to remember, that's why I use Dr. John Henry Clark again, getting to the foundation of the religions, the spirituality of the religions. The foundation is African. When it really comes down to it, the foundation is African, but the spiritual aspects of these religions, because we have examples of Black people, both who were Islamic and Christian, who have fought to free our people from the shackles of slavery and oppression. So it's not necessarily the religion, but it's the individual behind, or the individual who's within the religion. So as we go through this chapter, because Elijah Muhammad is giving us his thoughts on why we should choose Islam. So as we go through this chapter, I want us to go through this chapter with an open mind, but also with context to understand the history of Islam, the history of Christianity. And if you don't know it, I suggest that's something you go look up. Go study the actual history. We're not talking about the biblical history or the Quran history. We're talking actual history of it, because actual history, the Crusades. Go look up the Crusades. The Crusades were year-long wars, long wars, Christians, Jews, and Muslims fighting for land, power, wealth, and resources. So we're not on this channel, we're not going to act like any of these religions are clean. They're not. But if we're talking about what could be a better choice for Black people, well, we're going to explore further why Islam, and I don't really disagree, why true Islam is a good choice. But I do also agree that true Christianity could be, or if you get back to the Orthodox way that was started in Africa, it could be, but why true Islam could be a viable option for Black Americans to choose, especially if you want to choose a religious option that's opposite of what your white slave masters, your European slave masters gave you. So